Caribbean leaders. Choose America or China. You can't have both. Is the Caribbean caught in the middle of a new Cold War? Donald Trump has reportedly sent a clear warning to Caribbean leaders. Either stand with America or risk losing U.S. support by deepening ties with China. As tensions between Washington and Beijing escalate, the Caribbean has become a key battleground for influence. With billions of dollars in Chinese investments pouring into the region and the U.S. looking to reassert control, Trump's message is loud and clear. Choose wisely. This isn't just a political showdown. It's about economic survival, national security, and the future of the Caribbean. With China building ports, highways, and energy projects in several nations, the U.S. sees a direct threat to its dominance in the Western Hemisphere. Trump, known for his America First policies, is now pressuring leaders in Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and the wider Caribbean to rethink their partnerships. The big question is, will the Caribbean comply or resist?
We must be prepared. We can't approach this with any panic.
In the last 2 decades, China has aggressively expanded its economic footprint in the Caribbean. From the Baha Mar Resort in the Bahamas to highways in Jamaica and port expansions in Trinidad, Beijing has been pouring billions into infrastructure projects across the region. Unlike the United States, China offers easy access loans with low interest rates, often requiring no political conditions. This has made them an attractive alternative for cash-strapped Caribbean governments looking for ways to develop their economies without the bureaucracy of Western financial institutions. However, these deals come with concerns. Many of these loans are structured under China's debt diplomacy model, where if a country is unable to repay, Beijing can take control of strategic assets. This has already happened in Sri Lanka, where China now controls a major port due to a defaulted loan. Could the same fate await Caribbean nations? The U.S. seems to think so, and that's why Trump's administration is now drawing a red line on China's growing influence.
China and Caribbean countries have a long tradition of friendly exchanges. Our diplomatic relations are roughly as old as CARICOM. 10 years ago, President Xi Jinping paid a historic visit to Trinidad and Tobago and met with leaders of all the Caribbean countries having diplomatic relations with China and established the China-Caribbean Comprehensive Cooperative Partnership. And ever since then, we have made great achievements and accomplishments, and China-Caribbean relations has become a shining example of mutual respect, equality, mutual benefit, and win-win cooperation.
Reports suggest that Trump has privately warned Caribbean leaders that continued alignment with China could have serious consequences. His administration views China's economic involvement in the region as a direct challenge to U.S. authority. Washington's fear is that these projects are not just about business, but also about Beijing gaining long-term strategic leverage over the region. With China controlling key infrastructure, the U.S. worries that Caribbean nations might be forced to side with Beijing in future diplomatic disputes. A senior White House official reportedly stated, "The United States will not stand by and watch as our closest neighbors drift into the orbit of a communist regime." This suggests that Caribbean leaders could face economic or diplomatic consequences if they refuse to distance themselves from China. Could Trump threaten trade deals, impose sanctions, or even reduce aid? History shows that the U.S. has used economic pressure in the past to get its way. The Caribbean might soon find itself caught in a dangerous game between two superpowers.
The U.S. has not spent great amounts of money in Latin America.
And the Chinese, for years.
They have very high levels of investment just about in every country, from Venezuela to Brazil to Argentina to Bolivia to Chile.
The Chinese government and closely aligned military affiliates have spent billions in our region granting loans and building political alliances.
For Caribbean leaders, this is a high-stakes dilemma. On one hand, China has provided much-needed financial support, helping to fund roads, hospitals, and energy projects without the political conditions often attached to Western aid. On the other hand, the U.S. remains the Caribbean's largest trading partner, the main source of remittances, and a key ally in security and regional stability. If Trump follows through on his warning, Caribbean nations could find themselves cut off from U.S. economic support, a move that could devastate their already fragile economies. At the same time, China's investments come with long-term obligations. If Caribbean nations cannot repay their debts, they risk handing over key assets to Beijing, leading to a loss of sovereignty. This is not just an economic decision, it's a geopolitical one. If the region chooses China, it risks angering the U.S. If it aligns with America, it may lose access to critical funding from Beijing. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, Caribbean governments must decide whether to prioritize short-term economic gains or long-term geopolitical stability. So, what happens next? Will Caribbean leaders comply with Trump's warning and distance themselves from China? Or will they continue to pursue Beijing's financial backing despite the risks? The coming months will be crucial in determining how this power struggle unfolds. Some governments may attempt a delicate balancing act, maintaining strong ties with both powers without fully committing to either. Others may be forced to choose a side if economic or diplomatic pressure from the U.S. intensifies. If Trump is serious about confronting China's influence, we could see major policy shifts, potential trade restrictions, diplomatic efforts to counter China's presence, or even increased military presence in the region. On the flip side, Beijing is unlikely to back down, meaning the Caribbean could become an even bigger battleground in this new Cold War. One thing is certain, this fight for influence is far from over, and Caribbean nations must tread carefully to avoid being collateral damage in a global power struggle. This battle between superpowers is heating up fast. Should Caribbean nations bow to Trump's pressure and cut ties with China? Or should they continue to take Beijing's money and risk U.S. retaliation? What would you do if you were a Caribbean leader? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more updates on Caribbean politics, global affairs, and breaking news, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.